And we're live on another episode of BS Busters. Thank you for joining. It's me, Mr. Red Fox, owner and proprietor of BS Busters, and I'm joined by my other two panelists. We'll start with the lady first. Introduce yourself.
Uh, Sorry if anything, I feel like there's a headache about to arrive. But first, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages. Welcome to the BS Busters Interlude Podcast. Welcome to the 4th of July, by the way. I am Joe Rightly, a Moonstar, and oh gosh, the fighting game community is gonna drive me up the wall.
Yeah, they've been fucking up. Kenoshi, go ahead.
It's Kenoshi Abominito here to say that you only eat cold cuts when you forgot to go grocery shopping, or you just don't feel like cooking.
Or sometimes you just, you just really want a turkey sandwich. This is Mr. Red Fox. To get in touch with the channel, you can reach me at MrRedFoxBSBuster@gmail.com or at Matthew Wesley at MrRedFox91. Or there's a link to the Discord in the underneath the video. But with that being said, I guess we can talk about the big thing that happened, which is the Evo fucked up. The fighting game community fucked up.
And if there's anybody out there who has followed the fighting game community, at least to a small inkling, at least if you've mildly followed the fighting game community, I'm sure you're not surprised, because I sure wasn't.
I'm not one of those people.
I'm face palming.
I don't follow the fighting game community, mostly because I have shit to do with my time that doesn't involve getting in beefs over imaginary shit. But if you could parse the situation out for us, that'd be great.
So apparently, this character named Sonic Fox dropped out of the Evo. I don't really follow the fighting game community. I just, every time there's drama in the fighting game community, I find it entertaining. But this guy named Sonic Fox, who has alternate sexual desires, was allegedly harassing or sexually abusing minors. And there's also been a case of a few other people that have been caught.
Well, let's just say this right now, though, okay? Whether or not this person apparently was gay is being.
That's another story.
Being gay has nothing to do with being a child molester. They're two completely different things. Because there's plenty of gay people who aren't molesting children.
Sure.
And if you ask them, like, how do they feel about it, they say that's a sick bastard who would do that. So I'm not going to try and say, well, this person is gay and therefore that is why they molested a child.
No, I wasn't even saying that. I was just saying he was some different. I think there was a girl who was caught.
That's
abusing a minor as well.
Yeah, that's messed up.
Abusing a minor.
But it's about time. Because remember when that shit came out on various YouTube personalities? Like, I think one dude who, I'm not going to say their name, but their name rhymes with Ro Verid, sending explicit texts to underage children, to minors. I mean, like, people need to stop doing this shit. Yeah, people need to stop doing this shit,
Reason why I have a headache right now. Thank you, fighting game community, for providing reasons to facepalm.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Every community is. It seems like right now we're having a lot of reckonings. It seems like we're having a lot of reckonings going on in gaming right now.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like. Like a nationwide reckoning, online reckonings. But here's the thing: reckonings are also a good thing. Because think about how bad this would have been if had it just been swept under a log, or not discussed, or buried like they wanted it to do, or had been doing for a while. You know, like, you know, it's better to get this shit out in the open so that it can be addressed.
You know, we were talking about this at the beginning of the show. Sometimes with people that have great power and wealth and fame, usually there are people that come forward, but their silence isn't heard.
Yeah, typically
and,
speaking, typically speaking,
paid off.
Typically speaking, when you see stuff like this, well, it's not even just paid off. It's just like they're afraid. The people feel. I mean, because here's the thing: anytime someone is abused, whether it be sexually or mentally, like if someone's sexually abused or mentally abused or emotionally abused, it's not about that immediate gratification. If it's about sex, it's not about sex. If it's about taking something from someone, it's not about, like, if someone steals from you, it's not about, like, sometimes people will steal from you and it's about they needed that money. But sometimes people will take things from you or destroy your property, and it's about the fact that they did it. That they can take something from you and there's nothing you can do about it. It's about the power of taking something from someone. And so basically,
over another, right?
Exactly. And so basically, I mean, a lot of these cases, you're seeing people who are, I mean, you know, like if you're going to abuse a child, that's a power dynamic, because typically an adult has more power than a child, which is why it's illegal for an adult to go with a child, because children just they can't handle certain things like an adult can.
Sexuality has a lot of, you know, it's a great tool for power and manipulation. Not just for children, but also adults that are also for adults that, you know, don't have it all. That aren't all there.
Well, I mean, that's true, but they're adults. Like, here's the thing, okay? If adult is fucked up, they're an adult, okay? Even if they don't have the capacity for dealing with things like a well-adjusted adult should, they're an adult. So, like, the cutoff point for them getting a slack for shit isn't there. But a child, on the other hand, I mean, I'm going to use a real-world example, right? Children who have been sexually molested by an adult, they can have very fucked up relationships once they become adults, because basically their idea of sexuality has been completely skewed. You'll find young girls who have been sexually assaulted tend to act out sexually, and young boys a lot of times tend to become abusers themselves once they get to a certain age, or they just have very skewed viewpoints of sexuality. And so basically, like it's like it's something that basically affects multiple generations of that thing. Like, you can have someone who was molested as a child who can grow up, and because of how they basically dealt with that issue, they can never really form strong, intimate relationships with people. Or if they do, it's like a messed up intimate relationship where they don't really know how to act intimately, or, you know, they just have they have very fucked up ideas about sexuality and stuff like that. And I mean, this is all the fallout just from someone molesting them as a child, which is why, you know, it's bad for people to want to have sexual relations with children. So the fact that this went on is kind of fucked up. You know, but like I said, it's better for it to come out now than for it to be hidden away, because, you know, these things have to be discussed. You know?
Yeah.
Some things can never be put in a jar. They'll just break the jar.
Yeah. Some things you cannot put in a jar. Some things you cannot. I mean, you can't bury. My parents had this old saying. They used to say, "You can't hide from the truth." No matter what you are, no matter who you are, no matter what you deal with, eventually, no matter how fucked up it is, it's gonna come out. All right.
Yeah.
No matter what you do, like if someone's a hateful person, eventually that hate has to come out. They can only bury it so long, even if they're faking it. Eventually, it's got to come out. I was talking with a friend of mine, and he reviews movies for a local newspaper, and I occasionally did it like back in the past, but I was like a guest reviewer. But this guy did it like this is his job. He writes in the newspaper and reviews stuff in the newspaper. And his big thing was he was like, well, this new movie's coming out with Mel Brooks, or not Mel Brooks, Mel Gibson. He's like, are you gonna watch it? I'm like, no. It's like, well, why not? I'm like, cause I mean, Mel Gibson did some really heinous shit, and I can't, in good conscience,
Watch something like that.
I can't support it. Like, I don't wanna watch something from someone who has, like Mel Gibson's father is a Holocaust denier. Mel Gibson's father left the U.S. and moved to some weird ass island off the coast of Australia with his family, and left the Catholic Church for some odd reason to join this ultra conservative sect of the Catholic Church that was put on basically the Catholic Church has this list of orders that are like, you're like one more fuck up away from being excommunicated groups like that he joined. And so like everyone's like, I can't believe Mel Gibson is an anti-Semite and a racist. You don't know the history of Australia, do you?
Australia, if you think some places in the U.S. are effed up, wait until you see other parts of the world.
It's like you really don't know Australia very well, do you? But anyway, so he was like, well, aren't you going to watch this movie? I'm like, no. He's like, listen, I don't want to support a racist. And here's the thing. I know, like, you can't not see everything that involves racists and people you might not like. But once they come out, once that hate bubbles out of them and you find out what they are, it's like, you got to make a choice. Like, is the art more important than that person? It's the reason why I don't watch Woody Allen movies. It's the reason I don't watch Roman Polanski movies, because Woody Allen, he basically had sex with an underage girl that happened to be the adopted daughter of his then girlfriend, Mia Farrow. Not only did he have sex with the girl, he took sexually explicit photos of the girl and left them on a mantelpiece next to a thing of lotion and some tissues.
Enough said.
Yeah. It was clear what he was doing. And it's just like, it's like everyone's like, oh, he's a genius. I'm like, yeah, but he's a fucking pedophile. And yeah, he later married the girl, but still, you're a fucking pedophile. Same thing with Roman Polanski. He gave Quaaludes, which is a date rape drug, to a 12-year-old girl and had sex with her. Yeah, you're a pedophile. And then when he was literally, they were gonna cut him a deal. He left. He ran away to Switzerland. So fuck Roman Polanski. And I'm tired of like people, oh, they're geniuses. I don't care if you like someone's art. There's certain things that are unforgivable. If you're a pedophile, you're a murderer, you're a racist, I can't fuck with you. I'm sorry. I gotta cut you off. So, I can't deal with that, man. So I had to, there's certain shit people can do where it's like because it boils down to a character issue. Like I have a friend, and she's like really into like certain charismatic Christian people, and she's like, oh man, have you seen that thing by Joel Osteen? I'm like, I don't trust Joel Osteen.
No.
And they were like,
you gotta be careful with those big time charismatic.
They were like, well, how do you know? I'm like, first of all, look, I'm an atheist, so I believe in observable facts and scientific method and empirical evidence and stuff like that. I don't want to believe anything unless it's true, and the only way you can tell if something is true is if you can way observe it, if there's a way to verify that something is true or not. And so like Joel Osteen is the shyster, huckster, prosperity gospel Christian preacher of this megachurch. And I was like, yeah, that dude seems like an asshole to me. And then it comes out that when there was the hurricane that hit, the Gulf of Mexico, which includes Texas and Arizona, New Mexico, Louisiana, stuff like that. Like basically, these people were like, look, we need shelter from the storm, and he doesn't open. Is the church opened up for his own parishioners and other people, the community? No. And the lame ass excuse you get, well, if we open up the garage, it'll flood. I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. It's just, and look, listen. I've read the Bible. I mean, isn't being charitable to your neighbors and giving succor to the sick and the poor, isn't that like a good thing in the Christian pantheon? But it's typical bullshit. People just saying shit. But man, all these churches, they wanna open up their doors to get people back in there spending money during this pandemic.
Oh yeah, I actually find that. Even as a Christian, I actually find that a bit reprehensible, if you ask me.
Well,
some dirty tricks people are doing.
No, I thought it was funny because this one preacher was like, "Yeah, and God's gonna protect me from COVID." He caught COVID and died. I'm like, well, apparently science. Apparently you had your faith in the invisible man when you should have been like, yeah, I should listen to science and not actually, do shit to expose myself to a viral agent.
I'm not sure if I should even laugh or cry about how stupid that was.
I laughed. I was like, that'll fix your dumb ass. Look, listen, okay?
Because there's stupid and then there's sad stupid.
Look, listen. I'm not going to get... My point, I don't know how we got off on this tangent. My point is this. Basically, religion is, my point behind all of this is to say this. People have done a lot of fucked up shit, and we're having a reckoning right now in America. You need to look at things for what they are. You need to use critical thinking. Unfortunately, critical thinking isn't taught here in America anymore. No one really wants to think critically. Now, what do we mean by critical thinking? We mean, like when someone does an action, think about what their personality is, what their motivation is, and who if someone does an action, who is this going to most affect, and for whom's benefit is this for? Now, if someone does something and the biggest benefit is for a very small amount of people, that person is not someone that you put in charge of anything that's going to affect a large group of people. Okay, just on GP. Grand
principle.
That, and here's the thing, if you're a selfish person and you only take care of yourself, then you don't need to have a family. You don't need to be in charge of a business. You just worry about yourself, Or if you are in charge of a business, it's like a one or two people, small, ultra small business. But once you get to a certain size, you have to worry about other people aside from yourself. And selfishness, there's nothing wrong with it. It keeps us, it's an evolutionary aspect that keeps you alive, but at a certain point, altruism has to come in there. But that's neither here nor there. Let's move on to the next topic. Unless you guys have anything else you want to add about the FGC's Day of Reckoning.
I don't know how they could get any worse. That's the only thing I'm thinking.
Don't say that, because probably some more shit's gonna come out tomorrow.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Look, never say it can't possibly get any worse.
I was hoping at this point that they got into the worst.
Don't
So,
ever say it can't possibly get any worse. Never say that.
Overboard. Polygon's card and board
all
game
right,
show.
all right. It's just that if anything, I just hope that this is the one time that we have to mention them.
No. If anyone ever says it can't possibly get any worse, it's about to get worse. Don't ever say that. Don't. You're tempting fate with that one. With that being said, let's move on to the next topic. The next topic is, well, we're talking reboots. Reboots. There's a lot of reboots going on here.
And not the TV show, mind you.
That show got rebooted, but it was a piece of shit. I saw it. I saw it on Netflix. I knew that show was going to be bad from the start. When the first thing that happened was that the people who made that show were shitting on the original show's graphics.
Wait a second. What?
Yeah, they were shitting on the. And here's the thing: Reboot's graphics are dated. I will admit, but for the time, those were really good graphics for the time.
Oh yeah, they were.
And here's the thing: yes, as the show got on, the graphics got shittier, but we didn't care because the story was really good. The character development was really good. The writing was really good. This show had none of that. The writing sucked. The characters sucked. They didn't even have the original characters from the show. So basically, this reboot was a steaming pile of shit, really.
Oh God.
And the reason I brought this up is because basically Nickelodeon / Paramount is rebooting, is doing a reboot of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So I thought to myself, I said, yeah, another reboot, yeah.
After the reboot that they did the last time,
with Michael Bay, with those Michael Bay Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that no one wanted.
Yeah. I was about to say, after that reboot, and after the last series of TMNT, do we need any more right now?
Well, they're gonna do it no matter how you feel about it. And they're putting Seth Rogen and some other guy in charge of it. I'm hoping that them putting Seth Rogen in charge of it, they can get someone who's tapped in enough into pop culture to actually understand the source material. Because the problem with the Michael Bay reboot was that you had a person in charge of it who didn't fucking understand the source material. No idea.
For that matter.
Thought it was a joke. Oh, this is funny. How about I take this camera and shove it up Megan Fox's uterus? They'd like that.
Enough said.
Yeah, the Michael Bay reboot of TMNT was trash. It was really, really bad. Like, really, really bad. Like, I've never seen something so horrible before in my life. I mean, it was, ugh.
I was about to say, you're trying to tempt fate with that one, aren't you?
What?
That you never saw anything that ugly before.
I mean, the turtles looked horrific. Like legitimately, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which in every other incarnation, like in their original incarnation, they looked menacing, right? The '80s comics, right? With Kevin Laird and Peter Eastman, Kevin Laird and Peter Eastman, Eastman and Laird. They looked menacing, right? It was in black and white. It was menacing. And then they did the late 80s, early 90s cartoon where they turned kind of goofy. And then they did that shitty live action show where it was just cheap. And then they did the movies. Like the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie, like the turtles look badass.
It was kind of fun watching them.
You know, I mean, it's like they took the goofiness from the TV show, and the menacing quality of the original OG thing, and they said, okay, we can combine the two. And what you get is kind of like Michelangelo's kind of goofy, Leonardo's kind of serious, Donatello is like awkward, and Raph is perpetually pissed off. And it kind of just works. And then, I mean, like basically with each movie, the budget got lower and the suits got shittier looking. Like the second movie, the suits were shittier. The third movie, the suits were ultra shitty. But I mean, my point is that like, just animated, because apparently this next movie is going to be CGI animated. Like the early 2000s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle show, which had it went back to being like kind of like a color version of like the menacing turtles from back in the day. And then they kind of fucked, and then they did that CGI one that kind of like was like a fusion between the old one and the new one. I mean,
Your results may vary.
No. The latest one is the one you're talking about. There's one between that one that was CGI. You're talking about the one that was for kids that changed up the order, where like Michelangelo's the leader. No, not Michael. Raphael's the leader,
Raphael.
And Leonardo is Leonardo takes on the Raph role. It kind of messed up the character traits, but I mean, there's been more good Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle animated shows than the shitty ones at this point.
Yeah, that makes me feel better about it, but it's getting into the turf of Paper Mario, and the both of us know how that turns out between us.
I mean, no, because at this point there's been more bad Paper Marios than good Paper Mario games. Unless Origami King knocks it out of the park, then it'll be 50-50. But at this point, there's more mediocre to bad Paper Marios than like great ones. Whereas with TMNT, there's been more good ones than bad ones, because the original comics were good. The first cartoon series was good. The second cartoon series in the early 2000s was good. The one after that was good. So that's 4 series right there that are good. Only the latest one's been really shitty. Just animated. Only the latest one that was done for kids, where they messed up, where they subverted the characters' personalities, is the one that was kind of shitty. So, now if you want to talk about the movies, there's more shitty movies than good ones. As a matter of fact, I would say there's only two good Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies. Well, 3. There's the first one from '89. There's the animated one for the animated one that basically they crossed. It was the one that had like the turtles going on a dimension hopping, and it had like the turtles from like the CGI turtles crossing over with the comic book turtles, crossing over with the animated ones from our kid.
Turtles of all ages, of all times, right?
Yeah, that one was good. And then the one that had turtles teaming up with Batman, that was pretty good too.
I never saw that one.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
That's something I'll look into.
Yeah, but then, I mean, you've got like TMNT 2, TMNT 3, those 2 shitty Michael Bay ones. So you only got 3 good ones and 4 bad ones. So live action, there is way worse live action. There are way more bad live action ones than good live action ones.
And this is from 2 different series, mind you. One that had 3 and one that only had 1, but oh God, is it so terrible.
What?
The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1, 2, and 3, and then the Michael Bay variant.
The Michael Bay one had 2. There was the first one, and then there was Out of the Shadows, and both of them were terrible.
That means there is 5.
Yeah. So at this point of all the base live action ones, there's only been one good one, which is the original '89 one, which is kind of sad, but you know, what are you gonna do?
Though, if anything, I think we could both agree. Number 3 for the first one, it was utter trash.
You mean the one that the special effects were that movie was so bad it destroyed a game. Like there was a character in the Sega version of TMNT that was supposed to be April O'Neil, and the character in that movie did so badly. I mean, it was supposed to be the female character from that third movie.
Karai.
Yeah, it was supposed to be Karai, and they turned it into April O'Neil because that movie was so bad. Which is kind of sad, but also hilarious.
Super Nintendo has Karai, and yet Genesis doesn't.
Yeah, well, either way, they changed that character because that movie was so bad. That movie was so bad, it killed the franchise. For years. Like, we didn't get another live action movie until Michael Bay took a stab at it and promptly fucked it up.
He must have started from 3.
Look, listen. The '89 movie's good. The second movie, Secret of the Ooze, is okay. It's okay. It's not great. It's okay. All right.
I consider it popcorn quality.
Is that a prequel to the Power Rangers movie?
Look, listen. I would have given it better than an okay, but it has Vanilla Ice doing that ninja rap at the end of it. Go ninja, go ninja, go,
Hey.
go ninja, and Vanilla Ice can go. Yeah, Vanilla Ice can go eat a bag of dicks. As far as I'm concerned.
That was at least one of the funnier moments, but
Yeah.
it was not necessary.
Yeah. Vanilla. Anytime you put Vanilla Ice in a movie, you've already, to me, you've already gone down the shitter. Because there's no reason for Vanilla. There was like 1 year. There was like 3 months where Vanilla Ice couldn't be touched when he did Ice Ice Baby. After that, it was just all downhill from there.
At least
The
if
one-hit
anything,
wonder.
at least his appearance was brief.
Yeah.
The boy wonder.
Yeah. Go ninja, go, and fuck you, Rob Van Winkle. That's his real name, by the way, Rob Van Winkle. But forever he'll be Vanilla Ice.
It sounds like a clown's name.
It does. It does. That's why he changed it to Vanilla Ice. There were some weird one-hit wonders. I mean, there was MC Hammer with the Hammer Dance. Can't touch this.
Yeah.
Like, people forget.
That was the time that those movies were going on. That was the year of the one-hit wonders.
Yeah. It was a tough time. It was a tough time to be in the because basically hip hop was starting to take off in the early '90s, like late '80s, early '90s. Hip hop was starting to take off, and it was starting to broach pop culture, and basically they wanted to create but it still hadn't made the crossover yet. And they wanted to get a white guy who would basically be the Elvis for hip hop, and they got Vanilla Ice. And they fucked up. Because, I mean, no. It didn't work out for him. That's all I'm gonna say on that.
Enough said.
So yeah, Hammer Time.
Oh God, so the two of us are old.
Hammer Time.
Oh.
Yes. It's time to do the MC Hammer Dance. Hammer Time.
Oh God, this is gonna be stuck in my head for a while. Thanks a lot, Red.
But speaking of reboots, I don't know why I went off on that tangent for TMNT. What movie and video game franchise, you can choose one of both, that you guys think should be rebooted, and how would you do it? Be detailed if you possibly can.
Oh boy. For for movies, this is gonna be a little tricky to me, but I think we might go for maybe. Okay, I'm a little stuck here. So
No,
if for video games, I at least got Mischief Makers. Try to take the shaking mechanic to the next level and make everything that you grab shakeable, and able to give you something from little life to hit to giving you one of the key items like the golden gems, and have it that you could actually have have a collision combo. Like it rebounds, it destroys something, and that destruction could hit other characters and creatures. Mm, that would be an explosion masterpiece in a sense. You get what I'm saying, right?
I could see that.
Oh yeah, now I remember. And this is probably the weird one because we live in a more digital age than ever before, but I'd like to see if this could be actually made into a better movie. Have you ever heard of something called Computer Warriors?
No.
Let me just say it was a bit cheesy of of the of the wording and stuff, even product placement for Pete's sake. But it actually was pretty neat and kind of silly for the time. I actually would like to see it come true and see how some creations from the internet age could be done in more modern tech. So if anything, I should try to find a video to help explain what I was talking about with Computer Warriors because I'm not sure if I could explain it well enough myself.
Is it like VR Troopers?
Um, if you consider the the heroes and villains being all from the electronic world, I say yes, in a way.
Computer Warriors. Is it like a is it tokusatsu type thing?
It's a it's an animation that it's an animated movie of sorts that I think that might be kind of weird to you.
All right. Kenoshi, it's your turn.
I think Dragon Ball needs a total reboot. You know, where characters, where all the characters actually matter, versus one character only mattering.
Goku. I could see that. I'd be cool with it. I'd be down with it.
Okay, I'm surprised. I actually found that little movie. I'll send it to you by link.
All right. I tell you
All
what.
you do is just all you would do is just retcon Super. Goku dies, and then
Evil
Gohan
players
takes over,
Yeah.
and he has to deal with being the son of Goku.
Having to step out of that shadow. If they
Yeah,
they already
absolutely.
they had the perfect setup. If they did a thing where there's basically because they already did this with Future Trunks, where like basically like even though they defeated Cell, and he goes back to his timeline, it's a different timeline. So basically, like his family's gone, his friends are gone, his master's gone, but he's much stronger. So he finds that version of Cell and kills him. I think that you could totally do a thing where there's an alternate timeline where Goku isn't brought back, so there's no Buu saga.
Yeah.
There's no Buu saga. Goku dies, and he's just dead. Like he's just dead. Like he's in the afterlife being a shitty father. Because he's a shitty father. Like Saiyans make terrible fathers.
Yeah.
Like clearly like Bardock is a terrible father. King
Joe?
King Vegeta King Vegeta's
King
a terrible
Vegeta.
father. Just terrible, terrible parents.
I mean, how many? I mean, how many fathers have been from the Saiyan race that directly were able to be good fathers?
Zero. I mean, they're just all terrible parents. So basically, like the best way I can think to retcon it, I have to agree with Kenoshi, is just like
Get rid of Goku.
Don't get rid of him, but just let him die at the end of the Cell Saga, which he should have just died anyway. And so now it's up to Gohan, like, then start a new saga where it's like Gohan stepping out of his father's shadow, becoming his own man. I think that could be an awesome series. Like, you could have different character dynamics, because like you would have the older fighters. The older fighters are all like, well, you're not your father, that's the big thing, you're not your father. And him basically, like, the first arc would be him basically becoming a badass in his own right and stepping out of his father's shadow and being way stronger than his father ever dreamed to be.
Yeah.
That would be a really cool thing. It would be cool if, like, they had a thing where, Vegeta goes out of control, because his big thing was, I will prove I'm stronger than Kakarot. But even then, he didn't have the balls to do what Goku did in order to help save the world when he was fighting Cell. So Vegeta goes off the deep end. So Gohan has to put him down. He's like, look, man, you're out of control, and I got to put you down.
I was about to say, your ego's too big, and it's time to take you downwards.
So now this sets up like an interesting thing where Trunks grows up resenting Gohan for killing his dad. So then you could have the second saga could just be Trunks trying to get strong enough to kill Gohan for killing his dad.
Oh yeah, that could be pretty good.
So then you could have this
Last of Us 2 territory with that.
So then you could have this entire. I don't know. I don't know anything about Last of Us 2. I didn't watch any of the spoilers because I don't give a fuck about that game. So
warning.
So you could have this awesome fight. You could have this awesome fucking fight between between Gohan and Trunks, fighting it out, right? And maybe the first time they fight, Trunks kicks his ass. Trunks beats the shit out of him, and the only reason he doesn't get killed is because Gohan uses some trick that he learned from Piccolo, his real daddy. His real daddy. He learned from his real daddy, and he's like, look, he's forced to go on a real journey to become strong enough to defeat Trunks. Right, he's got to tap in and like enter training montage. Look, this is good for like 20 episodes of filler for this new series right here of him training and getting stronger. Maybe have him regrow his tail. I don't know. And then like Gohan comes back and they fight it out, and they wind up getting in a fight that's so brutal that they both wind up in comas and all fucked up. But while they're in comas, like they're so close to death that their spirits pass over, and they wind up in the afterworld, the afterlife.
I was about to say, hopefully not in the place of Home for Infinite Losers.
No, the afterlife. So now basically you can have a celestial tournament where they meet their fathers in the afterlife, right?
Yeah.
And so now you can have a whole thing where it's like a celestial tournament to get them back into their bodies. Like, because whoever wins the celestial tournament can get a wish granted, and like Vegeta's like this is where Trunks finally realizes his father Vegeta is a total piece of shit. He's like, because his father isn't trying to fight. He's like, yeah, I'm not gonna wish you back into your body. If you were weak enough that you couldn't even defeat Kakarot's son, then you don't deserve to live. And like Goku's like, I'm gonna get my kid. Like, they can't bring me back, but I'm gonna get my kid back into his body. And so, like, he tries to do the one good fatherly thing, and Trunks finally sees Vegeta for the piece of shit that he is, and he's like, shit, I can't believe I almost killed this guy for this piece of shit. It's like, and of course, it could culminate with some awesome tournament, because, look, the tournament cycles are always fun. where you have the spirit versions of Vegeta and Goku, and even Bardock and King Vegeta talking shit. Like Bardock's like, yeah, but your son's never beaten my son, not once, you punk. You know, and have King Vegeta get all pissed off about it.
That would actually be the worst insult of all. That Soldier could brag about his own family, saying that his son cannot be smacked.
He's like, legitimately, you call yourself the king of whatever, but you can't even. You call yourself king of the Saiyans, but there's only like one Saiyan left. Some king. I mean, what type of loser are you? You know, just spend his time just talking shit about Vegeta and King Vegeta. And maybe have like a family reunion where you like. Turns out the final boss of the tournament is the evil spirit of Daimao Piccolo from back in the day.
That would be an interesting twist.
They're like it's like this evil spirit has taken over the home of infinite losers. The home of eternal losers, and he's basically got everyone else dancing to his own tune. It turns out to be Daimao Piccolo. He comes in, he's like, "Oh, it's you assholes again. I'm gonna have to beat you again, huh?"
Somebody's gonna be turning black and blue by then.
Maybe Daimao Piccolo's too far, because most people don't know Dragon Ball that well. They know Dragon Balls, they don't know Dragon Ball that much. But I'm tired of Frieza and Cell. I'm so tired of Frieza and Cell.
I'll agree there.
Another show I'd like to bring back is Yu Yu Hakusho. Is picture Yusuke. He's older now. He's married to Kagome. You know, he has a couple kids, and there's something that ends up dragging him out of retirement. So, what that would be, I haven't thought that. I thought this out completely.
I don't like it when characters have kids. It fucks up the whole dynamic of the show. Typically speaking, when characters grow up and have kids, like Naruto was a badass until he had kids.
Well, yeah. The problem is that the problem with that is they kind of just completely shit on the previous generation when they give the characters kids.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Yeah. You know, like basically any TV show, once they add kids, the TV show goes downhill a little bit. For those of you watching, if you guys have any suggestions of TV shows that could totally be rebooted, shoot us a line. Let us know. I tell you what I would go with. I would go with I would totally go with Yu Yu Hakusho. I would do Outlaw Star.
Yeah.
Bring back two anime shows that need to be brought back: Outlaw Star and the Big O.
I can imagine what one of those reasons are.
What, the Big O?
I mean, for Outlaw Star.
Outlaw Star had an ending.
He had a great ending, and if anything, a reboot for that would be pretty interesting.
Outlaw Star had a kind of a happy ending where the crew is still going on their adventures and shit. But what you don't know is that Outlaw Star had like a pilot done for a spin-off. And they never got, like, the spinoff, the pilot was done, the OVA was done, and no one picked it up, so it never got done. I think you could totally do a show set in that universe, because it's an interesting universe. There's, like, all this interesting shit going on that they never elaborate on, which is kind of like, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know. I mean, that's a really good universe when there's interesting shit going on. It's like, man, I want to know more. And they never tell you. It's like, hey, you want to know more? You never find out. Ah, fuck you. As far as the Big O goes, that show ends on a cliffhanger.
Like people groan about.
Yeah, it ends on a fucking cliffhanger. So I would say do another 2 seasons of the Big O, or even do a new series of the Big O, but set it after the events of the original show where people get their memories back, and you find out like there's these other cities and shit, and just have Roger Smith traveling around trying to connect these cities and get people back in touch with each other and shit like that, while also fighting giant monsters with his giant mech, his Mega Deuce.
And trying to see how much collateral damage can he evade.
Yeah, it's like I'm the negotiator, and I'm here to negotiate. I'm here to negotiate with you guys. Really? Because I thought
You're
you were
negotiating with that.
Yeah. But the thing about Roger Smith is that he's a badass. He never uses a gun.
Which is impressive.
In that entire show, he never uses a gun. He's ex-military, but he never uses a gun. He punches people. He kicks people. He never uses a gun. Now, his butler uses a gun. Dorothy uses a gun. He never uses a gun.
Dorothy uses a machine gun.
Yeah, well, so does his butler.
What?
Yeah, his butler uses a Gatling gun.
Oh, and the only one that doesn't even carry a pistol.
But then again, Roger Smith doesn't need a pistol. When you've got a Mega Deuce, really? What gun is going to hold up to a dude piloting a Mega Deuce?
Good point. I mean, how many people... I mean, that's the only thing that makes me wonder, how can he be so swag without a pistol? He got something better than one.
So that's just me. As far as video games go, I would say Final Fantasy needs to be rebooted.
Yeah, we need to start with Final Fantasy 1 again. Just quit with all the numbering and just like make a game called Final Fantasy 0 or something like that.
They already did that. It was terrible. It was like a tactic action RPG. Here's my idea to reboot Final Fantasy.
Or just call it Final Fantasy. Just make a game called Final. Don't number it.
Make a Final Fantasy game, but the only people who can work on it are people who played Final Fantasies 1 through 10. No 12, no 13,
no 15.
No 15. You can, if you played the classic Final Fantasies, that's the only way you can work on this game. That's the only way you can play it. You can make this game, and so the game would be a throwback to those style of Final Fantasies. Not entirely, because I don't think most people want to sit down and play a game where if you go to the wrong area too early, you'll get destroyed by enemies who are way over leveled compared to you. Okay, like, you know, I wouldn't want that, but so I mean, that's just me. Let's see, the other one, I think that let's see, what's another video game I think needs to be rebooted? Street Fighter. Street Fighter needs to be rebooted. The story is a convoluted mess. The characters are a convoluted mess. Here's my idea. Here's my idea for you, Capcom. This is for free. You don't have to give me any money if you use this. Reboot Street Fighter, but take the first 2 games and combine them into one. Okay? Call it Street Fighter Prologue, right? And that's basically just Ryu and Ken fighting their way up to Sagat, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you do a reimagining of Street Fighter 2. But here's what you do. Okay? You have an arcade mode, which is your traditional, you fly around the map with the announcer, Japan, Thailand, USSR, aka Russia,
Mm-hmm.
USA, Spain, UK, that type of thing, right? But then you have an adventure mode where you walk around, a city, street, Final Fight style, beating the shit out of people. But at the end of the level, when you get to the boss, it turns into traditional Street Fighter. Yeah, it turns into traditional Street Fighter style fighting. I think that could work. I think that could totally be an interesting way to have Street Fighter. Have characters have different routes, kind of like how Soul Calibur does, where different characters, depending on which character you have, has different destined fights and shit like that. So if you're Ryu, you're gonna before you fight M. Bison, you're gonna have to fight Sagat, right? Mm-hmm. Rematch, right? But if you're playing as Guile, you don't have any beef against Sagat. Your enemy might be someone else. You get what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
But that's just me. Any other games you guys think need to be rebooted?
Not that I can think of on the spot, sorry.
Alright. Okay, let's move on to our next topic. I was going to say we'd talk about the upcoming Devolver Digital Conference, but we'll probably talk about it next week when it happens on the 11th. We already did the Rebuts, some weird logic in gaming currently. So I guess all we have left are free topics and the unpopular opinion segment. Okay, I'll dive into this first. I have an unpopular opinion. My unpopular opinion is this. I think that Star Fox currently right now has more mediocre to bad games under its belt than truly great games. And I think they need to go back to basics. I'm all for using a gimmick well to enhance gameplay. Motion controls, when used well, can really make a game, can add some depth and complexity to a game in a way that makes it better. But, there's some games where I don't need a gimmick. I just want straight up gameplay, and Star Fox is one of them. So if they do another Star Fox, just keep it simple. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. But that's just me. Any unpopular opinions you guys want to share about video gaming or pop culture in general?
What was that?
Do you have any unpopular opinions you want to share about pop culture or video games in general?
We don't need E3 anymore.
I don't think that's an unpopular opinion. I think that's just that's just reality. That's a statement of reality.
that was an unpopular opinion 5 years ago. 5, 10 years ago.
I'd say 2 years ago it was unpopular.
Yeah.
2-3 years ago, it's no, we need E3. It's Christmas for gamers. Look, here's an unpopular opinion. If you think E3 is Christmas for gamers, you had a shitty Christmas. That's all I'm saying. You had a really shitty Christmas because
E3 is just a trade show.
That's all and it's not even a good trade show because it's only open to industry insiders and business people. Yeah. If you go to the automobile trade show, anyone can go to it. If you go to the food trade show, anyone can go to that shit. There's no barrier to entry aside from a ticket, which I think the tickets are kind of cheap. So it's but if you want to go to E3, the tickets are $100 for a 1-day pass to $300 for 3 days, so that you can watch people play video games, to stand in line and play video games. What type of bullshit is that?
Unless you're part of the news that covers video games, that kind of is a BS shot.
It is, which is why I said it's bullshit. It's bullshit, I say. Bullshit. Patootie. Patootie, I say. Patootie.
To be honest with you, I got a bit of an interesting rant that probably would be kind of weird coming out of me.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna be pretty weird here. You people that love your roguelike games, I'm actually wondering, what do you see? I mean, what do you think that you get from saying that everything is roguelike if you cannot have a course of action? Like, seriously, there's roguelikes like Slay the Spire. There's roguelike like, oh yeah, the Rogue Legacy. Those I could get because they actually have a focused ending, even though it's hard to actually get to the ending. Oh god, those bosses. But trying to trying to make everything roguelike in a sense to make the difficulty a lot more interesting and fun, I think you're overdoing it a little bit.
I see where you're going. I don't necessarily agree, but I see where you're going. I mean, I don't have anything necessarily against roguelike games. I just think that the problem with roguelike games is that it's becoming a little too
Saturated and
yeah, kind of like VR was and first-person shooters and open world. It's like, okay, this is getting to be too much.
yeah, I mean, there's some games that could benefit from being roguelike. I mean, if you ask me, Slay the Spire actually has a interesting roguelike with you trying to get the best kind of deck to go against the tower, and Rogue Legacy, you always have a different hero that has some kind of genetic oof to them.
Yeah, most of which are kind of shitty. Occasionally, you'll get a good one that's actually helpful, but most of the time, it's bullshit.
Yeah, but it's starting to get to the point where we're having all this randomness is kind of being like putting your feet in a box of termites and trying to
Hoping they don't bite you.
play, and all while trying to play a game of blackjack and holding up a pair of bad cards.
Well, here's what I'm going to say. I don't have anything necessarily against, like inherently against,
Roguelike games.
roguelike games. No, I don't. What bothers me about roguelike games, where I'm kind of like, okay, this is kind of bullshit, is when they just add roguelike to shit just because. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, at least you can understand what I'm getting at. That
No.
it's starting to get a little crowded in here.
No, I get it. I'm just saying, like when you add stuff to things just because, that's when it gets to be too much. If the roguelike aspect, because here's the thing, roguelike games also tend to have procedurally generated areas, and that's cool when it's done well. But when it isn't, it's like, God, stop giving me procedurally generated anything. Sometimes I just want to play a game
That has a direction to
that's
it, right?
been designed and made a certain way. You know, like I don't want to play something that like I have to do all the work.
Yeah, and speedrunners, oh god, they have nightmares of these games.
So, but that's just me. Any other unpopular opinions you guys want to get off your chest?
Yeah, the fact that this is an unpopular opinion, might as well just. Does anybody else have anything? Because there's something I've been wanting to talk about.
No, go ahead, man. Get it off. Say whatever the hell you want.
We're listening.
Games are gonna. It looks like games might go get more expensive. Looks like games are gonna raise $10.
Oh
And
boy, I can hear this one coming.
it's just like, if I think it's time that people stop begging for, these games to be these technical marvels, because it's getting too expensive. Publishers are getting too greedy. It's just getting out of hand. Soon we'll be paying Neo Geo prices for these games.
Well, I mean, here's an unpopular opinion to add onto your unpopular opinion. Games have all people are like, well, they haven't changed the price of games in X amount of years. I'm gonna let you in a little secret. Yeah, they have, because almost every game in existence has microtransactions added to it. You don't think the microtransactions are there just because the microtransactions are there so that they can fucking um
Swipe an extra dollar or two.
yeah, that's
Doesn't.
I mean, what I really wish, aside from the microtransactions, because that's a big pain. But the problem I have is that, all right, instead of, if you're gonna do this, my hope is, and it's not gonna happen, but my dream is, I guess, is that, all right, you release a game as filled to the brim as possible with content.
yeah.
And then 2 to 3 months later, you announce a season pass when, people have played
Cool
through
down.
a great deal of the game. Rather than announcing the game, the season pass, and then the season pass, and then the season pass pack 2, and then, pre-order DLC. And it's just kind of like,
Can we at least try to get rid of the pre-order DLC?
Yeah,
People stop pre-ordering games.
yeah, it's kind of bullshit. I agree with you. It is actually not kind of. It is bullshit. But I mean, I agree that basically how things are done here in America, or not even America, in the world, about how games are announced and supported is some bullshit. It's not well done. It's not done fairly. It's not done well. It's just it's bullshit.
Well, the thing is, it's just, the when did this whole pre-order stuff start anyway? The thing about pre-order.
Well, it was there during the 6th gen, but it really took off during the
7th.
during the 7th and 8th gens, especially the 7th gen.
The thing about pre-orders is that what people don't realize is you're purchasing a promise.
Yeah.
That usually isn't guaranteed.
Yeah, and typically when they talk about that shit, where they're like, hey, guess what? If you pre-order this, you'll get this. A lot of times when they announce the pre-order, they haven't even talked about what they haven't even put down what the base game's going to be yet. So how the fuck are they going to offer, be like, oh, well, if you order the pre-order, it's like, motherfucker, you don't even know what the base game's going to be yet.
And the thing is, I have pre-ordered games, but it's usually from companies
that have a good track record.
They have a good track record.
Yeah.
And it's a game I know I'm going to buy anyway. So.
I only pre-ordered it once, and funny enough, it was for, of all things, Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire.
Man, you got screwed.
It's only once.
I'm just saying, you got screwed. Here's the thing. I will pre-order a game if I can find a good price on the pre-order, or it's a game it's a company that has a good record. Like Nintendo, I'll pre-order some of their stuff because I know I'm not going to get fucked over by a Nintendo product. I'll tell you another company that I will pre-order.
That was the reason why. Because if anything, it was a Nintendo Game Freak thing that was at least I know usually do not screw you over.
Well, I'll give you another example of a game that a company that was released by a company that I trusted just had a quality almost with all their games. Atlas. Back in the day, Atlas, how during the 6th gen, they were like, if you pre-order this, you'll get these bonuses. Atlas did limited runs on all their games. So you didn't need to pre-order it. If you got it early, for the base price, you got all these nice bennies like CDs and music CDs and DVDs and OVA collections and and pillows
Oh yeah.
and all types of little biddies and shit. Like I got the Trauma Team duology for the Wii for like 60 no for like $70, and it came with like a stylus thing and like surgeon mask and scrubs and shit. I was like, man, this is awesome. So it's like I don't mind pre-ordering if you're gonna have quality to it.
Yeah.
But if you're not gonna have quality, then I don't.
Believe it or not, the one time I pre-ordered, I actually got a little figurine for it. So if anything, it didn't turn out too bad. But
I guess. I mean, look, if a figurine can do it for you, good for you. Me, I needed something a little bit more, but that's just me.
Yeah, as I said, it's the one time I pre-ordered, and it wasn't too bad, but I could say that
it could have been better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a few news stories to get to before we wrap things up. The first one is Platinum angers fans with statement on import fees for the Wonderful 101. Basically, people in the UK who kickstarted the game had to pay import fees. And here's what I have to say about the people who were complaining about import fees for the Wonderful 101 in the UK. You could have had this game, the best version of this game, if you bought the shit on the Wii U. So, like, bitching about it now, I'm like, why? That's the price of doing business.
I was about to say, this is from, I'm likely guessing, the people that insulted the Wii U the worst, and they're complaining about the Wonderful 101 having a tax onto it.
Yeah, they should have bought the shit when it was on the Wii U. It really, and to be honest with you, that's the best version of Wonderful 101 is on the Wii U. So, I mean, yeah.
That's on them.
Yeah, listen.
I didn't want to buy a Wii U.
Why are you complaining about the shit now? You know, why I got to pay more now? I mean, that's like someone complaining about something that is in limited supply, right? And complaining about the price.
The limit is gone.
It's like you could have gotten it when it was cheap, and you're complaining the price went up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, you should have got it when it was on the Wii U. Our next little bit of news is Mega Man VR experience coming to Plaza Capcom in Japan on July 18th.
Wait.
Does anyone give a shit about this?
Mega Man VR.
Yes, a Mega Man VR game. I shit you not.
F this S I'm out.
I mean, it's a Mega Man VR game. I don't know.
You know how much I'm a fan of VR, and I know how much of a fan you are of VR. Are we gonna be?
Well, it's an arcade. It's an arcade game. It's not. It's an arcade game. It's not like, you know.
Yeah. But at least I was saying, do you want me to sugarcoat it, or do you want to sugarcoat it? Because we definitely know how we feel about VR.
Well, I mean, like, to be honest with you, I don't really, like, personally, I don't like VR for, like, home console games, but arcade games, some of the best arcade games are VR games, and they're fucking awesome. Actually, believe it or not, they really are awesome. There's this tank game you can play where it's like 4 players simultaneous, where like you put on these VR helmets like you're in a tank seat shooting these tank guns, and it's fucking awesome. I'm actually like,
that's the funny thing. I've never seen a VR set in an arcade for some time.
Well, I mean, they're not like because arcades aren't as big as they used to be. But when they are there, they're fucking awesome. I mean, I like the idea of VR in games like that. Like I'm not like, I like the concept of shit like that in games. Like I'm not like, I just thought that was cool. I mean, it's just kind of sad they're only putting it on. It's only in Japan, cause I'd play it for a little bit.
There's so many things that are Japan only that makes you wonder, why can't we get any of that cool cheap?
Yeah, I'd do it. Like I said, I'm a fanboy of
The weird.
No, I'm a fan. I like games like that. So that doesn't.
Oh great, the fireworks are going off.
So yeah, I'm not mad about that. Yeah, they're going off where I am too. I don't like it. I don't like it, not one bit. No sir.
You, considering where I live, if those fireworks land near my house, oh boy, I
Yeah.
could hear trouble.
But yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of those types of but that's just me. Our
Yeah.
next news story is we already talked about that Evo being canceled.
That was the main punch.
That was the main one we were talking about. Okay, here's one. Microsoft is renewing the Fable trademark with intent to use. So we might get another Fable game.
I'm mixed about that because the last time we saw Fable, it was a kind of a No, I gotta say it. It was a wreck.
Which
to
Fable?
say
The
the
Journey?
least.
Fable the Journey, you mean?
The last one.
Fable the Journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that wasn't Lionhead Studios' fault. That was Microsoft did that shit because they were like, hey, we gotta make a game for the Kinect.
And you wonder why I said it was a mess.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, I know it wasn't from Lionhead, but still, the last time Microsoft did the Fable game, you could understand the enthusiasm is standing outside right next to a hearse.
Yeah, they ruined it. I mean, like, here's the thing. I'm one of those people who actually liked Fable. Despite Peter Molyneux's
Storytelling.
numerous and dizzying array of hyping up and over promising and under delivering. I mean, I think the Fable games were good for what they were. I think the first Fable was pretty good. Fable 2 was okay. Fable 3, I actually liked Fable 3. I know a lot of people, I don't like Fable 3. Look, Fable 3 isn't perfect, but it's not terrible.
If you want terrible, go to the Fable. Go to the one that was made by Microsoft.
Well, no, it was made by Lionhead, but Microsoft made them because they were like, we need a game for
The Kinect.
yeah, we need a game for the Kinect. I mean, Fable the Journey was shit. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie about it. Fable the Journey was a steaming pile of dog excrement. But like the other Fable games were good, and they all were in up. Like basically, here's how I know Fable was a good franchise. Because basically, each iteration of Fable, like Fable 1, Fable 2 sold more than Fable 1, Fable 3 sold more than Fable 2. So the franchise was on an upward trajectory until they made Fable the Journey, and it just, oh man, it was bad.
Nosedived.
Yeah. Because they were like, well, because Microsoft does not know how to manage studios. Like they're terrible at managing studios. Like whenever Microsoft has to manage a studio, it's gonna get run into the damn ground.
Huh. Reminds me of another thing that Microsoft has ran into the ground.
You know, like I was watching this thing, they were talking about like how Mixer fell apart. And it turns out the same way they ran Rare into the ground, they ran Mixer into the ground.
That's what I was hitting at. That they ran Mixer into the ground, and in the same sense, that's what they did with Rare.
Yeah. So
what happened? Did they just let people do whatever they wanted, and so they just
No, here's what happened. Okay, it was a combination of people they didn't know how to, people being shitty managers and them not running the business well. For example, the first thing they did was they spent a lot of money on big name people from Twitch, poaching big name people from Twitch and putting them on Mixer. Here's the problem. Most of the really big name people who they bought on Twitch, that they poached from Twitch, they didn't bring over their subscriber base.
Yeah.
So they spent all this money and those people didn't come over. Like, if you have a small subscriber base, those people are really dedicated. Okay? If you have a huge subscriber base, a lot of those people are casual viewers. The only reason they're there is because they have other shit on Twitch that they're watching. And instead of nurturing the mid-tier and smaller tier people, making them into big people on Mixer, they focused on the big name people. And they're like, yeah, we'll get all those people. It didn't work out.
I was about to say, isn't this what they did with when they tried to make Xbox a thing? Try to grab
exactly. Like Microsoft, look, listen. If Microsoft buys your company, you are fucked. You are not going to be well because Microsoft cannot run. They're not good at running businesses. Okay, for a business.
Say, if Microsoft is supposed to be the kiss of death, wouldn't that make EA the Grim Reaper?
They're both equally bad. Okay, if Microsoft, here's the thing, but Microsoft will at least nurture you along, do some shit with you. Like EA just destroys a studio. Like it's bad. It's bad. But yeah, so basically, yeah, they ran them into the ground. They ran Mixer into the ground. They did everything you're not supposed to do when you have a platform that you want people to get involved in. They did literally everything you're not supposed to do. So I got a free game off of Fnatic. It's called Holy Potatoes. We're in Space. It's a nice little game. If you guys want it, let me know. I've got the free code. You can get it off of Steam. It's a pretty good little game. That being said, anything else you guys want to pimp out before we wrap things up?
No.
All right.
I think I'm alright.
Okay.
But at least, if anything, we could thank the audience for watching the BS Busters and the League podcast.
That is correct. And if you want to get in touch with the channel, you can reach me at mrredfoxbsbuster@gmail.com or at Matthew, or you can @ me on Twitter at mrredfox91. And there's a Discord link. That being said, that's the end of this podcast. Remember, rate, comment, share, subscribe, and
Don't forget to hype responsibly and enjoy your 4th of July.
And watch